Hello and welcome to the Private Practice Podcast. I'm Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and with nearly 30 years experience in the industry, I'm really excited to share practical insights, valuable wisdom, and all the tools that you need to build a thriving private practice. So whether you're a counsellor, psychologist, social worker, or play therapist, this podcast is all about keeping it real with stories, strategies, and all the support you need to help you flourish in business. We're going to be embracing a mind, business, spirit approach, diving into honest conversations that will uplift your practice and soul. And if you haven't already, come and join us in the Counsellors Connect Australia Facebook group. It's totally free and you'll find a warm, supportive community of like-minded professionals. So go grab your favorite drink, your journal, a pen, get cozy, and let's dive into the mind, business, spirit approach to private practice that you've been looking for. At the moment, I'm sure if you're a psychologist, you're definitely not doing discovery calls, or if you're from another profession. The reason for that is because discovery calls were never an allied health thing. They originated in the coaching industry, actually, and there's a very good reason for that too. It's because in the coaching industry, the fees for working with a coach are considerably higher than working with a health professional. Usually, I know there's always exceptions to the rules, but when somebody's going to work with a coach, doesn't matter what kind of coach it is, oftentimes it's quite a big financial investment, thousands and thousands of dollars. And so, yes, they do need an opportunity to sit with somebody and talk with them and make sure that they're a good fit and all those kinds of things. For some reason, it started filtering into the counselling community. If I had my way, I would stamp it out. I don't think it's a good idea at all, especially because counsellors are trying to be elevated. ACA and PACFA, for example, are trying really hard to sort of raise the profile. So it doesn't make any sense that they'll be using tactics from other industries. Anywho, I know that there are still people who do want to use them. Plus, we've also got people who are providing therapy, but they're also coaches and things like that. They need to understand how to use them too. So what is it, for those of you who are uninitiated to the whole idea? A discovery call is an opportunity to discover whether or not you want to work with somebody, okay? That's all it essentially means. The way that they're done in coaching is there's a formula for them. What's happened in counselling, though, is that people don't know the formula, and so they're bumping into challenges in terms of like no conversions. For example, what's happening is sometimes people are actually providing free counselling sessions, and then at the end of the call, they're saying, "Oh, the call just went so well, Brooklyn, and I was so happy to have helped this person, and I really loved it, and it was great, and it was awesome, and the client was so happy, and they were lovely, and it got to the point I said to them, 'Would you like to book an appointment?' And they said no, and so they're going to go away and think about it, and the person never calls them, and it's because they've just had that initial anxiety resolved by a free counselling session. So anyway, let's have a look at discovery calls and inquiry calls in more detail in terms of the pros and cons to answer the question that was asked. So I think in terms of the pros, when you know how to do them the right way, I did deliver a training for this. It was a complimentary workshop a couple of months ago. So if you're in my community, you'll probably have access to that. If you want to get a copy, you can access it now. I think it is paid now. I think it's like $47 or something, but it's got all the training and the resources. So you can grab that if you like. Basically, I'm looking down because I've got all my notes here. That's all. I don't want to miss anything. I want to make sure that I'm prepared. So one of the pros is that it lets you qualify your client. So by that, what we're saying is you can really check that they're aligned with your values. There's someone that you can help. They're aligned with your niche. All of those kinds of things. So now it can be really, really an advantage to have this kind of connection call, right? It can also really establish rapport. And once you've got that rapport established, which you can absolutely do, you're a therapist and you're really, really skilled. You're more skilled than anybody in the whole wide world, right? Psychologists, social workers, and counselors are the most highly level trained in building rapport. So you can absolutely do this. But it's that rapport that's then going to lead to the conversion, right? So you're really good at that. And that can also increase things like your first session attendances. Really, really, really important. Okay. So for that reason, another pro. The other pro here is that it really provides an opportunity to address any questions that the person might have or any concerns too. And by concerns here, I'm also referring to things like objections. So sometimes if people have a conversation with you, they might say, oh, I don't know, it might not be the right time. Maybe I need to check with my partner first. I'm not sure if I can afford it. So there are all these types of, I don't know if I've got time. There are all these types of objections that can come up for our clients. And so by you being able to be on the call with them, it gives you an opportunity to, counsel them through that objection, like find out if it is an objection that's grounded in like their reality and their truth, or if it's coming about as a result of some fear that they're experiencing. Like, for example, I mean, if somebody says, oh, I don't know if I can afford it, is it really about being able to afford it? Or is it more about, oh, I didn't expect that you might be able to help me. And, I'm just so used to people not being able to help me. And I'm in the too hard basket. Now you're saying you can. Oh, and so it's bringing up stuff for them. What does that mean then if someone can help me? What does that look like to get support? I haven't had that before. So all this stuff comes up, and they just shut down the conversation. They say, I need to talk to someone, need to talk to hubby, need to check the money, I need to do this. I want you to be able to feel confident and grounded in the rapport that you've built and in your communication skills to be able to hold the space for them to, check in and make sure, is that really what's going on for them? In which case, amazing, that's fine, we'll sort it out. But if it's not, it gives you an opportunity then to give them an experience of how you can support them, right? By diffusing that objection for them, by literally giving them an experience of not being judged, of having the safe space to explore, by you being curious and caring and gentle and understanding and all those kinds of things. So when you can do that, that's amazing too. But if you don't feel comfortable supporting somebody through their injections, through their objections, if you don't feel comfortable yet within yourself or confident enough within yourself to do that, then probably what's going to happen is somebody will say to you, I can't afford it. And you'll say, oh, that's a shame. Okay, I understand. We'll come back anytime. You know what I mean? You will, like, somebody's always enrolling somebody in a conversation, let's just say. So they've just enrolled you in their block, right? But as the health professional, I feel wherever possible, it's your role, our role, to meet them where the block is, get curious and help them unpack the block and then dissolve it so that there's no block, right? So they can finally get the help that they're needing. And I think good practitioners do that, and they do it really, really well. What else have I got here? It also, having that call will also allow you to recognize pretty quickly in that 15 minutes, whether or not you can help them. And if you can't, you'll be able to make appropriate referrals out. Now, this is something that's probably a whole other podcast episode, but, there are some counselors who are just starting out and they're very desperate for work. They're very desperate for money. And so they don't refer out, and they do, unfortunately, end up working with clients that they don't want to work with, who have presenting challenges that they're not comfortable working with, or perhaps even might be outside of their scope of competence. So not just their interest, but also their competence, because they're desperate for the money. So they take everybody. Part of being a good private practice and part of being a good practitioner is being grounded in knowing, this is who I am. this is who my practice helps. This is who I help. This feels good for me. This feels right for me. This is ethical. And being able to confidently and easily and with grace be able to say, do you know what? I've listened. Thank you so much for sharing, this information with me. I want to invite you to consider connecting with this person, this person, this person, right? I can give you their details. She's an expert in this, he's an expert in that, they're an expert in that. Or if you would like, I also can direct you to a couple of websites for some e-health that you might find really useful. So talking about those kinds of things can be really, really helpful too. There are cons, of course, with the call. So let's dive into those, because I just want you to be aware of what they are so you can make a decision about whether or not doing these calls is going to be right for your practice. They can take up a lot of time, right? They can take up a lot of time. If you're running a Facebook ad that's working and it's really successful, or if you're running a Google ad that's working really successful, you're going to get booked out pretty quickly with these 15-minute calls. And they're not paid, right? The reality is they're not paid. And if you don't manage your diary really well, what's going to happen is you can end up losing a chunk of time that you could have been seeing a paid client with, okay? The other thing too is you're going to attract tire kickers. All right. So because unfortunately some people haven't been doing discovery calls or inquiry calls well in our community, they have been providing what's essentially been a free 45-minute counselling session. Now that client feels like they can go to anybody who's offering that 15-minute call or the half-hour call, whatever it is, and get a little bit of free counselling. And they start in medical community, there's a term for this, it's doctor shopping. It's similar to that. It's not exactly the same, but it's similar. They're just going to hop around from person to person, booking free calls. And I think that can be problematic. It's problematic for them. They're under the impression that they're getting help. It's problematic because everybody that they talk to is probably going to have a different perspective or a different therapeutic approach or style or personality and things like that. But also from a business perspective, not great for you to be getting tire kickers coming along, right? People who want to come and get the most from you in that 15-minute call and then not do anything, right? When you say, hey, I think I could help, you invite them into the next step, which might be booking a session, for example, and they're like, no, you're right, I think I'm good now, right? We want to reduce that. The other thing that can happen is sometimes if you don't feel confident within yourself, or maybe you feel very confident within yourself and you just feel like you want to give a little bit more than 15 minutes, what ends up happening is that 15-minute call gets extended to a half hour or to a 45-minute. I've heard them go for 90 minutes. Free calls. What are you doing on these calls for 90 minutes? And so when we're going overtime like that, it's not good for the client or potential client, and it's not good for you, right? It sets up certain expectations. And it's, I guess, demonstrate to a client that you're flexible with your boundaries. Why do practitioners do it? I don't know. I think it's different for different people. What I understand from clients that I've worked with that were therapists that, went overtime with their, not only actually their inquiry calls, but also actually with their sessions, it's been because of things like imposter syndrome, like doubting their worth. Or it's been things like, oh, I've recently increased my fees, so I feel like I need to compensate for that, so I went overtime. Or it's about, therapist challenge around sticking to boundaries and things like that. So just things to be aware of and things to be mindful of, okay? Just need to also just be aware, don't provide counselling on the call. The call has to have a certain structure, all right? If you don't know how to do the calls the right way, then you're it could be perceived that you're delivering a free counselling session. That could have all kinds of implications for clients, for you, for duty of care. Like, where does the duty of care start? Where does it end? They haven't consented. Have they consented? What are your responsibilities now? All that kind of thing gets really, 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 really messy, which is why we just don't do them in psychology, and we certainly should not be doing them in counselling, I believe. It's my 5 cents, especially if you haven't been trained and you don't know how to do them. I just wouldn't be doing them. The other thing, but again, my 5 cents, everybody's different. They can be a barrier to entry as well. Like, in psychology, I'm not sure about social work, and in counselling, we're often encouraged, aren't we, to go off and get our own therapy because it helps you keep your mind clean and keep yourself grounded and level and stable and all those kinds of things, and process stuff that could be coming up. In fact, we also have supervision. But one of the things is that if you, depending on how you market it, like if it's on your website, book here to get a free 15-minute call or something like that, and you don't have any other buttons, then you can risk losing clients because it can feel like a barrier to entry. You're going to have clients that don't want to do a 15-minute call. I'm one of them. If I have to work with I don't know, for me, it's a coach, a therapist, something like that. If I see somebody's website and I really like them and it's all looking great, and I want to go ahead and get started, and I say, no, I've got to wait to book a 15-minute call, that's not going to work for me. So I'm clicking out and I'm going to go somewhere else. The reason being that I'm in the mood now to get the appointment sorted out now. I don't want to email you. I don't want to have back and forth email communication. I don't want to get on your 15-minute call. I just want to be able to go and book the appointment for myself. So I will always do that, but that's just me. You might have clients that really want to have a 15-minute call. Great. But I think give people an option. Otherwise, you could be leaving money on the table and you might be missing out on being able to help people. So again, just a little nuances here and there to think about. Yeah, this is something else that can happen too. You've got to be really savvy about how you set this up, because if you just have it in your diary and there's no structure around it, what's going to happen is you'll get people booking in any time that you're available for these 15-minute calls. And if you normally see people for an hour, well, now you've lost a whole hour of your time. So really do make sure that you set up your diary the right way. Otherwise, again, it's going to mean you can't help people that are already in your pipeline, people who are already in your world, who you saw last week. Now they can't book you next week because someone's gone and booked a 15-minute appointment in their 1 hour slot. So make sure you've got good structure around it. That would be something to keep in mind. What else have I got? Oh, and, manage professional boundaries too. You might need to find that you have to carefully manage your expectations about really what can be accomplished in the 15 minutes. And this comes back to what I was saying before. If you haven't had any training in how to do a discovery call, take them off the website, because they're a thing. There is a formula, there is a process. I really believe at the end of the day, you don't need them. They're not part of, does your dentist do a 15-minute discovery call? Does your vet do a 15-minute discovery call? It doesn't make any sense if we're health professionals to be doing discovery calls. Again, just my little bugbear. I do teach people how to do them though, if they really want to do them. I really believe, getting back to what I was saying before, that if somebody really wants to work with you and they have a question, they're going to reach out anyway. They're going to email you anyway through the contact form, or they're going to give you a quick call. And I think you need to be setting aside 15 minutes for these 15-minute calls. Okay. The other thing too about the 15-minute calls is traditionally they have quite a high no-show rate. So again, it's limiting your ability to help people. It's limiting your ability to build revenue for the practice, especially when you're just starting over. And so there is really, we call it an opportunity cost. There is an opportunity cost for the business there. So look, these are just some thoughts, and every practice is different, right? I work with private practice owners in my coaching and in my courses, and some of them do it and they do it really well. They have, people booking in, and they're really great at converting, most of the people that book in. So that's amazing. But I have other people that offer them, that provide them, that deliver them, that actually have the conversation. They convert next to nobody, because either they didn't know what they were doing on the call, or they've got some kind of imposter syndrome coming up that's blocking them from being able to ask for a payment or get the booking, or all those kinds of things. So it's a little bit of mindset as well. So it's different for everyone. Some people love them. Some people say, do I really have to do them? And I want you to know, you do not have to do them. As long as your website is working, and by working, you want to be getting, on average, maybe between 3 and 5 inquiries a week, most of them from your website. If your website's working, that's enough, okay? That's enough. You don't need to have all of the discovery calls unless you want to. It's totally your decision. There's no right way and there's no wrong way, okay? But if you're going to do them, you do need to know what you're doing, right? You can't just be like saying you're going to drive a car without ever having a driving lesson. You need to know what to do, okay? And so for that, I would say go and do a little course or something on how to do a discovery call. As I said, I did do a training for them when I did the recent marketing workshop. So if I can find that, I'll pop a link for it in the comments for you, and you can easily grab that. It's just like a recording of workshop that I did, and it's got the steps and the tools so that actually it went over 3 days, I think. Yeah. So I'll talk you through exactly what to do there. So if you want to do them, you can do them. Okay. But I hope that this was a helpful podcast episode for you. This is the first time I've done it this way. So I'm recording it in Google Meets. I'm then going to upload it to GarageBand, pull out the audio, put the audio on my podcast platform, but save the video and put the video on YouTube. So we'll see what happens. We'll do this for the next, 90 days and see what happens. Track my metrics, do all the right things I tell you guys to do. If you have any questions, or if there's anything you want me to speak into with private practice, of course, I'm more than happy to do that. Just let me know. All right. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening to the Private Practice Podcast with Dr. Brooklyn Storme. Bye. I really hope that you got so much enjoyment, value, and insights out of this episode today. And if you did, please feel free to go ahead and leave a review. When you leave a review, it means that more therapists can access this help and support and tools to support them in their private practice and in their journeys. Thank you so much for listening to the show. Have a gorgeous day.